Hi, Thom Patterson with Flying, and we're talking with Greg Hughes, VP and COO at one of Aviation's great brands, Vans Aircraft. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. We don't have a whole lot of time, and I definitely want to talk about the next gen Vans kit aircraft that's getting so much buzz, the RV-15. But first, I want to ask you about your interesting bio. I see ex-law enforcement, I see pilot, I see kit aircraft builder. How did all of this lead to your current role at Vans?
Hey, Tom, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's great to talk to you again. Wow, it's kind of been an organic path. I started off when I was going to college and doing photojournalism and did that for a while. I guess you could call that chasing ambulances. Not a nice thing to say, I suppose, but and then what you could have turned into driving police cars. Did I guess about 8 years in or so in law enforcement, and then moved into then the internet became this big thing, right? And I'd always been into computers, so I moved into IT, which turned into an IT and cybersecurity career for many, many years. Uh, Great career, but along the way, through some different acquisitions and sales of companies and stuff, I found myself with a little bit of time doing some consulting work part time, getting paid pretty darn well for it, and I'd always wanted to learn to fly. So I took advantage of that opportunity, was driving back and forth down this road, and there was this sign on the side of the road that says, "Learn to fly here." And that was at Twin Oaks Air Park over in Hillsboro, Oregon. And one day I'm driving by, and I was like, you know what? I got time. So I stopped and I went in there, and about 25 minutes later, I was on a discovery flight. And the next day, I was back for my first flight lesson, and that's kind of how it worked. And through that, I found the Experimental Aircraft Association, the local chapter at Twin Oaks, Chapter 105, which coincidentally is also where Dick Van Grunsven is a member and either the first president or one of the first presidents of the chapter way back when, and his brothers Jerry and Stan are members, and a whole bunch of other friends that I made there. I found out about a program called Teen Flight. So Teen Flight, and now there's a lot of other similar programs, but that program started, geez, I think it's about 11 years ago now, building an RV-12 with a group of about a dozen teenagers. And that program has grown significantly here. They've now built 7 airplanes here in the Portland area, 7 RV-12s, but over 100 airplanes, either built or being built around the world by similar programs. So anyway, I got involved in that and pretty much got infected. I caught the bug, and that led to me taking on and doing a RV-8A project, which is not yet finished. That's a whole different story. But worked with kids in various ways all my life. Kind of got into teen flight that way. Learned about the actual building of airplanes. Pretty much fell in love with the whole thing, the people and the process, and just the airplanes themselves, especially the airplanes themselves. And then eventually, about 3 years ago or a little more, this position came open at Vans that was suited for me, I thought. So I figured, well, why not? It can't hurt to ask. Long story short, too late. Here I am. So, been doing marketing and media type stuff for a while, and kind of expanded the role a little bit. But I work with an amazing and terrific group of people who are incredibly more talented than I am, and just as passionate. A lot of really great people that design and build and make parts for and support and the whole 9 yards, these airplanes that we make. And the company's almost 50 years old. I've only been here for about 3 of those years. So it's I'm new. I'm still the new guy. But it's a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun.
It does sound like a lot of fun. I also wanted to pay respect to the Vans brand and all the history and tradition behind it. Vans is the most successful manufacturer of kit aircraft. Can you share some metrics with us, like how many Vans kits have gone out the door? How many Vans do you estimate are currently flying?
So, well, I can tell you how many we know are currently flying is just a small handful, under 11,000 airplanes right now that have actually flown that we're aware of.
Wow.
How many kits have gone out the door is definitely a multiple of that, right?
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands more than that. And so I don't really share the exact numbers. I can tell you that the industry as a whole, not just Vans, but all the companies in the industry, have seen a significant upswing in orders over the last couple of years. a lot of people have found themselves with time and opportunity to do some research, and kind of go back and thinking about, well, when I was a kid, what I really want to do. I guess, a decade or 12 years ago, I thought, when I was a kid, I wanted to learn how to fly airplanes, and I finally did it. So we all kind of go through whatever midlife, whatever we're doing. But, a large number of folks have had the time and put in the effort to do the research to find out, what, I can build a really amazing airplane from one of these kit manufacturers, Vans or other, and have said, I'm going to do it. And I mean, our sales right now our order rate right now is at about 250% of what it was just 2 years ago, which is great. It's also extremely challenging. From a business perspective, that kind of growth is really hard to deliver on, and all of the kit manufacturers are seeing similar types of numbers and similar types of challenges in the business. So as we say, it's a good problem to have, right? But it's but it is quite a challenge. Our company, when I joined, I was employee number 62 or 3. I mean, there was about that many of us here. We're at double that now, just about, almost double that, just in 3.5 years. That's a pretty significant growth in a lot of different ways.
What do you think the key reasons behind Van's success over the years have been, since the early 1970s? That's a long time.
Right. I mean, Van first flew the RV-3, which was the first kit available, plans and by today's standards, pretty rudimentary kit available in 1972, flew at Oshkosh, right? And it was a very fun to fly, simple, lightweight, great power to weight ratio, very well harmonized controls, nice flying airplane, and it looked cool, and it's fast. So and it's aerobatic, and it's all of the above, single seat airplane. And that was where it all started. Kind of grew to a 2-seat tandem version of the RV4, and then went to side-by-side with the RV6. But the whole point is that it's a story of evolution, right? The RV6 evolved into a more mature kit in the RV7, which ended up replacing the RV6. The RV8 is the big tandem. The RV9 is the non-aerobatic, go high, be efficient, side-by-side that uses the same fuselage as the RV7, different wing. The RV10 was an evolutionary departure, but still, an evolution, going to the 4-seat airplane, a big 4-seat airplane with a terrific useful load and super performance. And RV12 is an SLSA or ELSA side by side. That's really, really popular. I've got lots of hours in RV12s, great airplane. And then the RV14, in the last decade, came about and is kind of like uses a lot of the technology and the parts from the RV10, but it looks like a big RV7, right? And a super popular, very refined airplane. Point being that it's been a process of evolution. So the combination of continually refining the kits, and also doing that in a way that is fulfilling people's dreams, but doing it in a way that sustains the business in order to be able to fulfill the next set of dreams, right? And to continue to do that over time. So Van and all of those who have managed the company over the years have done a really smart job of thinking carefully and creatively. We don't just build what people are asking for. We do listen, but evolving and taking the next step, evolutionary step, to what really should be next. So there's in a lot of cases a lot of common sort of themes and even design elements from one airplane to the next. There's a few that have design elements that have changed pretty substantially from them, but then those elements have been used elsewhere. So that evolution and careful thought that goes into what should we be doing and what makes the most sense now is what's made the company successful.
So you're a kit airplane builder. What are the emotional and intellectual drivers you think that drive most people to want to build their own aircraft?
So pretty much anyone who as a kid stood and looked up at the sky when you heard that noise overhead, and who would go to the airport and can just look at that thing and just stare at it for hours, and can pick up a screwdriver and figure out how to make a screwdriver work has the aptitude to build an airplane. I mean, I remember when I was a kid growing up and driving down Arizona Street in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and seeing a garage door open across the street from some friends of ours, and there was an airplane in there being built, you know, and I can clearly remember that. And I never forgot that picture. So, you know, a lot of people like to tinker with cars. It's the same thing, effectively. I mean, it's the same set of skills. It's the same passion. You know, you can buy an airplane, right? And you can go fly the airplane that you bought, or you can build an airplane, and then you're going to fly your airplane, right? I mean, it really is, you know, just like any other semi-artistic, semi-mechanical labor of love. You know, you kind of pour yourself into it. You dedicate all that time, knowing that that in the end you're going to have an amazing flying machine. And RVs really are amazing flying machines. They're great to fly. They're, you know, very buildable, and they're just they're. You know, I mean, I always say to the folks around here, what we do here is we make other people's dreams come true. You know, probably say it too much, but it's true. You know, I mean, I know that's the case for me and for a lot of other people I know that have built RVs. But you can build an airplane that, so, you know, the word experimental, that's always a conversation, right? So the word experimental in the FARs, right, in the legal vernacular for certifying airplanes, has a pretty broad range of connotation. It's everything from a one-off airplane that nobody has ever flown before to like the kits that we build, where there are literally thousands of these kits flying, and it's very standardized, and the holes are pre-punched, and the plans are extremely detailed, and you put it together, and it's easy to build it in a very consistent way, and then to put your own unique sort of touches or flair on it, if you will, design, choose what kind of control sticks do you want to use, how do you want to paint it, you know, which wingtips do you want to use, things like that, stuff that you can make it your own, but on a platform that is a well-proven, predictable, great safety record set of airplanes.
So we're running out of time, and I'm sorry, but let's talk about that buzz that Vans is getting around that RV-15 that everybody is talking about, the next generation kit aircraft from Vans. I know there isn't a lot you can say, but what details can you share?
So we've made the decision. The initial decision was made a few years ago, that we would build a high wing, backcountry capable all metal airplane, an RV. With a high wing that is capable of doing that. It'll be a tail dragger first, tricycle to follow. It won't have a yoke, it'll have a control stick. There's a lot that we're not sharing quite yet, and you know, I can share with you that the reason we don't share all of the details yet around performance or some of the other details about the configuration of the airplane is because until we have finished the confirmation that the airplane flies and performs with the initial design and the adjustments we make exactly the way that we want it to, we have not ourselves fully committed to all of those details. The overall design is very much complete, parts constructed and assembled type stuff, but the once we've confirmed the details, we'll have a lot more to share. I know I want to build one. Knowing the details about it, I want to build one. I'm super excited about it, and I think everybody else will be too. It's going to be worth it.
What's the expectation for certification?
So certification, what's interesting is there's some changes that are currently underway that are likely to happen regarding the certification of kit aircraft, right? And so there's an initiative, I guess you could call it, called the Mosaic program between industry and the FAA, which is governed by an ASTM committee called the F-37 committee. So you're starting getting all these acronyms and weird numbers. But essentially what it does is it takes the concept of a light sport aircraft, right, which does not receive certification through the FAA. The FAA adopts the ASTM standard, and the industry standard is used for the certification of an airplane. So SLSA, or Special Light Sport Airplane, is the same airplane built the same way as an ELSA. So like our RV-12, you build it according to the same plans. effectively, but at the factory we build it as a finished airplane and deliver it, and it can be used as a rental airplane or in a flight school as a trainer, so a certified airplane, if you will, for commercial purposes. And that is currently in the process of being expanded, that type of program, through the initiative called Mosaic, with the goal of making light aircraft certification for the smaller airplanes, 2 and 4 seat airplanes that meet certain requirements, more like we do with the RV-12. And that would potentially allow something like an RV-15 or RV-14, for example, or others to be built at the factory as well as be built, in somebody's garage. And so from a certification perspective, that's a potential future, I think a likely future, in some variation. It's never done until it's done in those processes, but we're really excited about where it's going. And what it portends for the kit industry going forward. It's going to be pretty cool, and we're really looking forward to it.
Okay, I'm excited about that. Thanks so much for sharing that information with us, Greg. Thank you, Greg Hughes and Vans Aircraft, for taking time to be with us today. And thank you for watching. I'm Thom Patterson with Flying.